I've been able to avoid UFOs my entire life with relative ease. And when our government takes a position that makes it impossible to avoid that by hiding its data and making provocative statements involving a thermonuclear narrative, I think it's wonderful that the internet generation feels so secure that we can have fun with giant bug-eyed aliens and Skinwalker Ranch and cattle mutilations. But when you actually are talking about things probing your airspace or um, areas in which military presence is found, you're talking about something that potentially could lead to a conflagration. And so, just the way I don't expect people to be, um, you know, singing popular songs in church, I don't really enjoy narratives about UFOs in military airspace. So I think it's really important to recognize that we have now been taken by the New York Times, by the Pentagon, into a very weird place where our scientists don't seem to have any data. There are a tiny number of videos, all of which seem to me to be rather low quality. There's some anecdotal reports, and there's enough uh, claimed behind the scenes to warrant a change, indicating that we were either lying before, lying now. But whatever it is, we've been putting a tremendous amount of pressure on people not to report things apparently that they see because we don't want career-ending behavior in pilots. This is one of the few issues that I've never been able to fit any curve through the points. Normally, the problem is you can fit too many curves through a set of points. Then you have to discriminate between which is a likely narrative and which is a less likely narrative. I got nothing at the moment. I think what we're trying to fit is a sheet that is too small on a mattress that is too large. And every time we get one corner of the fitted sheet onto the mattress, another one pops off. I'm slightly worried that we've misframed the problem. The concern is that many of us are hearing a great deal more from other sources that are not usually, I don't know, unreliable. People who I've known, who I've tracked their histories, people are reaching out. And the claim that I don't know how to evaluate is that there's a great deal more. It's higher resolution. It's actually data rather than sort of video anecdote. It appears that none of our top scientists have access to this at an official level. They may have secret access to it, but I certainly can tell you that I've poked around in, differential geometry, general relativity, and quantum field theory, which would be three places I would want to consult if I thought that I was being visited from another dimension, another part of the galaxy, or that there was a major breakthrough that allowed alien civilizations to visit us easily, or even our own future selves, what have you. And that's the data that really I find fascinating. It's not that, look, these videos, to the extent that they're actually just straight up videos of something, they certainly seem weird. I'm not claiming that it's nothing, but I don't think I've ever said the words Fravor or Tic Tac or Nimitz or any of these things during the entire discussion, which I've been relatively focused on, not because, because I don't think that's where the story is. I think that the story is the Pentagon authenticating the existence of a program. I'm plugging in. I'm seeing all of these papers, like 38 papers. They seem to be from relatively obscure academics for the most part. There seems to be a UFO community that has security clearances. There seem to be top physicists who know nothing about this. And all of this I find to be it is the data. The data is the absolutely pathologically bizarre disconnect between what appears to be the strength of what has been released and authenticated with what is being claimed, with the extent to which things are being hidden, and the absence of any adults in the defense complex or the intelligence community to shut down what seems to be some sort of arguable fever dream on the part of people who desperately want to meet aliens. Now, I would say I desperately want to meet aliens, but not so desperately that I don't have other things to do on this planet if there are no aliens to be met. And so my question is, where's my goddamn data? It doesn't really matter in some sense whether the former paper of record turned, I don't know, institution that has inscrutable motives. We all know that the New York Times has slid downhill at an incredible level. We are in a highly politicized era. People are desperate for funding. They're desperate for excitement. They can't find meaning in their lives, blah, 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 blah. We are still a thermonuclear nation, and we need bad narratives reined in because we are not even in a bipolar situation. We're in a multipolar situation. It is simply, if Michael Shermer's best explanation were true, or if Mick West's best explanation is true, we've had a massive collapse. If we are at the level in which we are talking about incentives, that one part of the Pentagon wants money that another part of the Pentagon has, or people are squabbling, and there's no one to lower the boom and say, cut it out. This is an extremely serious situation. That's what it means to be in the military. You guys don't get it. We can't afford this. I don't think that any of this really resolves the basic puzzle. We can't actually have a conversation. We keep getting distracted because we don't have the language that says you have to integrate over the entire decision tree. Nobody can say that it's aliens. And what was represented to me, and I checked before I came on the podcast, is that in essence, what was represented is that all plausible explanations appear to have been ruled out. That's a claim. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that it's a claim. There's also a claim that there's a vast amount more data, and it is much higher quality, that it hasn't been downsampled, it hasn't been degraded so as to preserve military secrets. I don't know how to evaluate it because I'm not saying I'm not being lied to. I'm not saying that people are not themselves confused. What I am saying is that people are not representing the problem correctly. And if you set up the problem in any one of various ways, I can set it up so that either absolutely this is a funding dispute that got out of control, where people were trying to have some fun and it became this international story, or I can set it up in a different way in which basically we know it's aliens and we just can't say the final words. And what I asked Dan Sheehan today was, are we at the point, in your opinion, or in the opinion of people who came out of the Pentagon's ATIP program, that is the explanation for why no one will say it's aliens, that all of the remaining branches of the decision tree that we can think of have career-ending implications? And I thought that was a pretty good way of grouping the set of things, like, it's Atlantis, or orcas developed opposable fins, or we're being visited from other dimensions, or these are future humans going back in time along closed time-like curves, or any one of the things that would sort of get you a trip to the nuttery. Are those what's left? And the answer that came back to me, and I hope, Dan, if I think I got this straight, so I will apologize if I didn't understand it. But Dan's answer was yes, that's what's left. Now, does that mean that Dan knows? Dan wasn't part of ATIP. He's a lawyer. Does that mean that ATIP understands this? Maybe not. Maybe they're a bunch of crazy enthusiasts. I don't really understand what a ufology. I just found out that ufology is a word. That's how backwards I am on this topic. I am late as late can be to this party. This has had zero interest to me. I think we are not representing the weirdness of the story accurately if we're already at cui bono. At some point, and I don't mean to be rude, you have to ask people with an above 80 IQ for help. And if you're not willing to do that, then we are not in possession of, I don't understand something. I don't mean to be rude about it. But we developed the world's best factory for producing smart people out of ordinary human beings. And I know those people. Those are my friends. They're your friends. And we've got a large number of them, and they're completely in the dark. They are, so far as I can tell, unless they've all been taken to method acting school, and each one of them can put Dustin Hoffman to shame. Nobody bothered to wake the scientific community. The idea of saying we're going to have a Manhattan Project by getting middle school teachers together in the desert and make PowerPoint presentations to each other is not what you do. You'd go call the Institute for Advanced Study first and foremost. There are like 5 guys. If I were just to go one place, I'd go pick up, and Brian, you and I have fought about this before. I'd pick up Ed Witten, Robert Dygraff, Nima Arkani Hamed, Juan Maldacena, and Natty Seiberg, just before breaking a sweat. I'd call up Jim Simons and ask for his help. I would make sure that I was talking to people who have domain expertise with respect to general relativity, particle theory, differential geometry. Every time we get into this conversation, I hear about material science. And I say, I really don't care that much. At some level, if it's just a change in technology, if somebody figured out hypersonic technology, fine, I get it. But this has become completely crazy. The idea that we avoid smart people at all costs. We make sure that there are no smart people in our COVID narrative. There are no smart people in our physics narratives. There are no smart people in our threats. Yes, I understand that I'm stepping into the following bear trap. Eric, you sound elitist. No kidding. Look at the prosperity all around you if you happen to live in an advanced country. You're welcome. Now, get the data to the smart people and stop effing around. You have to appreciate every day I get up, I look at the world. The world is so far shifted from what I expect. I write about it on Twitter. I used to do podcasts. I will do them again. The reason people listen to me is that I'm perpetually just scratching my head and say, "What did somebody let off a neutron stupid bomb all over the world?" Now we're having the craziest discussions about narratives that make absolutely no sense. We either have a significant threat or we don't. If you have a significant threat, you hired the people, you train the people, you go talk to them. In the 1950s, for example, we appeared to have 2 separate programs that were dealing with anti-gravity and involving 2 separate philanthropists. One of them worked through an aerospace company and a military Air Force base. The other one worked through the university system. I believe that the Higgs mechanism bizarrely came out of all of this stuff. We have dabbled in this before. I looked through the list of names on this 38 papers of ATIP. I don't know that ATIP is the only thing that's been tasked with, understanding this. We are not behaving as an advanced technological society facing a genuine mystery with military and safety implications. And you will see people writing things like, wow, Eric goes on at great length. He says the same thing. Paul Erdős wasn't that important of a mathematician. He was very good, but he was like a combinatorist. You're not talking about Alexander Grothendieck. You're not talking about Michael Atiyah or Ed Witten. I'm saying that we have people who would, I believe in general, if we have real data, would go through this like a knife through butter. Now, somebody in the comments said something about, has Eric never heard of the Jasons? Well, one, how badly degraded are the Jasons? If you know that this is supposed to be our super elite advising group. I believe we tried to shut them down because we can't figure out why we still train smart people. We're behaving like lunatics who built the society that was able to build the Blackbird, to build the bombs, to do all of the amazing things that we do, our chip factories. Nobody in the private sector would put up with this kind of avoidance of scrutiny. And one of the reasons that is least likely to be aliens, and is least likely to be anything really exciting, is that no one's scared enough to make a trip to Cambridge, Massachusetts, Berkeley, California, Princeton, New Jersey, Hyde Park, Illinois. I don't know. I just don't know how to think about people who avoid smart people and continually have discussions about nothing. I mean, look at these papers. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. I deal with colleagues who believe that peer review is an intrinsic part of science, which is clearly not true. The brainwashing of our scientific institutions, the fact that we don't know the history of the golden age of general relativity, that we don't understand the way in which anti-gravity intersected, the way that we don't understand that we distributed programs in the interstitial regions between nonprofits like universities, government agencies like units of the military, and private corporations like our aerospace corporations. We used to know how things got done. And then we passed the Mansfield Amendment in the late 1960s, early 1970s to put the kibosh on military funding of civilian research. And we went completely insane. I mean, I understand their motivation for not wanting the military to be directing civilian research during the Vietnam War. But when you knock out a load bearing wall, you are responsible for putting some support in its place before the destruction is complete. You should either release the data or you should get the smart people in one place, as we have done in the past, to say, look, we got a problem. We've got a blue on blue situation. Our UFO enthusiasts have stumbled on our top secret drone program, or on the knowledge that we've been leapfrogged by our adversaries, or something like this. But you don't just like not worry about it.